Hey guys, this is Jason Greenman from Akommo, and I am thrilled today to bring you the first episode of a new project we're working on, which is a podcast. It's been in the back of our minds for a long time, and unfortunately it's taken this international crisis to action it. But I think more than ever, it's important right now for all of us to make the best out of a bad situation, tap into our creativity and communicate even more than ever. A lot of us are confined to our homes, perhaps working less hours, perhaps not working at all. So this feels like the perfect time to encourage communication, to collaborate, and support the business community. So the purpose of this podcast is to interview business people primarily in Barcelona, but likely all around Europe, to promote the stories behind the people and their businesses. Naturally, we're in the meetings, incentives, conferences, and exhibition space. Can be shortened to MICE. So a lot of the conversations will revolve around this, but I don't intend to limit the conversations to this either. To get started, what we're going to do is work on something called the Meet the Team series, where I'm going to interview people from our own team, the Akommo team, every day. Now, as you hear, we got a little bit sidetracked with the coronavirus situation, and this was filmed about a week ago, so some of the details have changed. We talk about going down to the supermarket once a day, doing exercise in the common areas. Both of this since then has been made illegal in the city. We strongly support these restrictions and have changed our behavior accordingly. We encourage everyone to stay at home and respect the authorities so that we can reduce the spread of this virus. I've also broken this up into two 20-minute segments for easier listening. So without further ado, our first guest is Richard Plain. He's our sales manager. In the office, we know him as Rich. And excited to introduce you to him, let you get to know him. We're just going to talk about kind of what's going on in the moment, the industry, and just about him. So let's jump to it. So, hey, Rich, welcome to the very first podcast. Let's see if we can get through this without making too much of a mess.
Perfect. Thanks. My pleasure.
Yeah. How's the coronavirus situation treating you? How's everything going? You're in Barcelona at the moment, yeah?
Exactly. Yeah. So right in the hustle and bustle of the city, in the Gothic Quarter, and okay. Fair to say it's feeling like a bit of a ghost town at the moment.
Yeah.
So it's been an interesting 7 days. I mean, the official 5-day quarantine, we started a couple of days early. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure why now, looking back at it, but we're we're here, and we've been lucky so far. The weather's been nice, so that's a bit of a silver lining on things. Sure. But it feels eerie in the city for sure. Yeah, you're used to constant people up and down the streets, tourists everywhere, and right now, you literally walk out, everyone's by themselves, as you're only allowed to go to the shops individually now. Yeah. A lot of people walking dogs that I've not seen in this area before, which is interesting to see.
Well, so it's what are the restrictions that are in place right now? What everybody's required to stay at home except for
if you need to go to the supermarket to get supplies, or if people are if people have dogs and they need to walk their dogs. Okay. There's been a few cases of people walking cats, which I'm sure they hadn't done in the past. But sure. I mean, if I had a cat, I'd probably try and do the same.
You'd be doing the same thing, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And then, it's literally just, the highlight of the day is me walking down to the supermarket and getting supplies.
You're trying to do at least one trip out to the supermarket per day then, huh?
Definitely, yeah. I mean, I actually went out this morning just to get a coffee and some croissants for breakfast, which was nice. Again, just to get out. It's literally 15 meters down my street. Okay. And on the way there, I was actually stopped by police.
Oh,
two
really?
Police on motorbikes. Yeah, 2 police on motorbikes asking where I live. I had to show them my ID, what direction I'm going and why I'm going that direction. Wow. Once I told them the scenario, they were fine, but they're really on it. There's a lot of police around this area.
It's a real lockdown. Obviously, I live outside the city now, so we're kind of isolated to the house, and sounds like the situation in the city is much more severe in that sense. And I think a lot of people who are not in Italy or Spain, when we talk about a lockdown, they may not understand kind of how it's being enforced. So it's pretty crazy times.
Yeah, I think even I didn't really understand the severity of it. I mean, if we think back to when initially the first thing happened for us as a company, which was the mobile being cancelled. And we were all like, wow, that's crazy. Is that, but it just kind of seemed something so distant, and it kind of made sense why they were going to cancel mobile, obviously with a lot of clients coming over from Asia.
Right.
But at that stage, I never would have envisaged that I would be on lockdown inside my apartment and literally allowed to leave for bare minimal reasons. It's been a bit of a whirlwind, really. And I mean, obviously everyone's in the same boat, and the good thing that's come out of it is the community feel, and how, I'm talking to neighbors on balconies opposite me, which the balconies opposite are about 5 meters away. I live on a small street in the Gothic Quarter, and, these people I'm talking to that I've never spoken to before. And, you're finding out about people and what they do and their professions and why they're here. And there is some, there's some nice things to come out of it for sure, which is that community feel, which is, I think, really important, because there's a lot of loneliness, and there's a lot of people, elderly people, who live on our street that I know for a fact they live alone, and just to try and say hello when you catch them on the balcony and that kind of thing, and try and keep positive. I mean, we're only 5 days in officially, so this could go on for a lot longer. So at the moment, spirits are high, but there's definitely going to be some challenges ahead for everyone, for sure.
I think so too. It's a situation that nobody has ever been in before, and I think the frightening part is that they say 15 days, right? I think that's the official the official information, is that this is a lockdown for 15 days.
Exactly.
But I think everybody's well aware that could be extended by quite a bit. I've heard up to 40 days, up to even 2 months. I think you're totally right too. This solidarity that's going on, which sounds like physically on the balconies. I've seen these things on social media with people starting concerts or playing the piano from their balcony, or people singing into the courtyards, and it's pretty incredible the solidarity and how it's forcing people to become, in some ways, even more social than they otherwise would be.
Yeah, in a strange way, because obviously at the same time, when you're outside queuing up to get into the supermarket at the moment, I think they're allowing 3 people into our local supermarket at a time.
Wow.
So everyone queues up outside, but everyone has about 1 meter to 2 meters distance from each other. So there's a queue of 15 people, but it stretches, really far down the street. And even then, people were kind of a bit on edge, understandably, not knowing. Well, the majority of people, I'd say, actually are on edge. And they're obviously not talking to anyone. They've got their mask, they've got their gloves. And then you find there is still sort of a small percentage of people that don't see the severity of it, and they're chatting away to people, which I've kind of been doing in between, keeping my distance, but trying to say hello and smile at people. And, I don't think it'd be really sad if we come out of this and social interaction is just completely lost in terms of where it was before. Already the first thing that happened, which obviously in Spain happens a lot, is, kissing people to say hello and shaking hands and hugging. And that loss of that and the lack of that is a really strange thing to be without when you're so used to it. So it's going to take some time to get that back, and imagine in the community, but hopefully it does get back to a stage where people can become more physical with each other again, because it's a really nice aspect, I think, of living that European lifestyle, which is something that we embrace living here, of course. So there's some real drastic changes for sure, and obviously at the moment it's all for the right reasons. I strongly agree, and sort of am trying to follow the idea of the social distancing, and I think that is something that's going to help. And I've always said I'm personally not worried about the virus myself and catching it myself, whether or not maybe I've already had it myself, but you've got to just be vigilant of other people and more vulnerable people. That's the main concern.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's really everybody coming together to do this, to protect the most vulnerable people in the society, the people that have health conditions, weak lungs, or of course the elderly. I really, really hope that this passes quickly. It passes quickly, and that there is some sort of silver lining, because as we've been talking about, kind of amongst each other on the team, and there's hard to find positive news. We're doing our best to share positive news, which, I mean, you personally, how are you kind of confronting the challenges psychologically and physically? Because obviously being confined to your home, working from home is not only hard, physically, it's hard. Obviously can't go to the gym, can't go for runs. So what are you doing to combat that physically, but also kind of psychologically to keep your mind at ease if you can?
I think the main thing, which is good, still having work, because there's obviously a lot of people that aren't working at all. My girlfriend, for instance, is a hairdresser, and she's just not working at all. Right. So for me, I've still got the stability and routine that every day I'm waking up knowing that I'm working. So it gives you obviously a bit of purpose. Are
you trying to keep the same schedule as you otherwise would?
More or less. I'm actually trying to start working a bit earlier in the day now. Okay. Just because I want to keep getting myself out of bed early, because I've done it in the past, and I know I can easily end up sleeping until like 10, 11, 12 sometimes, so I want to avoid that as much as possible. So definitely want to be getting up early, getting showered, having breakfast, getting in front of the computer. Obviously I've got my second screen here, which makes a massive difference and makes work from home a lot easier. Sure. So that terms of routine at the moment is really helping. And then, for me, I'd actually spent, as you know, the last few months really getting into my fitness after coming back from my back injury, and was sort of really enjoying that. And that is my main focus throughout this period, is just to maintain that and keep that up and get creative and do different things. I've been running up and down the stairs like a crazed person. I've been
within the apartment building.
Within the apartment building, I actually bumped into one of my neighbours, and I was like, apologies if you hear someone sprinting up and down, breathing heavily for around half an hour every evening. I was like, that's my fault, so apologies for that. And they said, I don't blame you. They said they're probably going to join me at some stage throughout the week anyway. So, all
right.
And then the other benefit I've got, which I'm really blessed to have, I've got the roof terrace, a communal roof terrace as well. So I've been able to get up there and do some exercise, enjoy the sunshine, and it just gives you a break. In terms of spaces as well, be able to split things up a little bit, and hopefully the weather stays true and the sunshine stays out, and we can keep doing that. But we'll see how that pans out. I know rain is forecast for next week, so we'll have to see where that goes.
Yeah, it's a time to get creative, isn't it? It's a really good opportunity to reflect on how we're using our time, things we've been kind of putting off, like for instance doing this sort of podcast format for us. We've been talking about it for a long time. I think jumping at opportunities to make the best out of a pretty terrible situation is of utmost importance at the moment. And it sounds like you're doing that too. And I know, speaking to the rest of our team too, we've got all these kind of challenges in place, trying to inspire each other to work out a little bit every day, jump on the phone, talk to each other, communicate more. It's difficult, but trying to maintain some sort of positivity, and sanity over the coming weeks and what could potentially be months too.
For sure. I think the benefit we have is in the industry we're in. Obviously, we're having a really tough time at the moment, and it's affected us, substantially in terms of what we can do and stuff that's meant to be happening from February through till, it could be up until June, July. Well, we're seeing things up until June, but we know, and there is still opportunity for things that are going to be happening in 2021, end of 2020. People are already looking, I'm working on 2 events for people in October. So things haven't stopped for us, which is really good. I really have to sympathize with people that genuinely can't go to work when they want to go to work. It's that for me would be a lot harder. So for now, this is the routine side of still having work day by day is a big help for that, for sure.
And just speaking to the events, maybe talk about that a little bit. Obviously, we've seen just an avalanche of cancellations and postponing events. How has the feedback been from the event planners and companies that you work with these events? What is their kind of outlook at the moment?
I think it was a really big shock for everyone, and I've got clients that have been in the industry for 10, 15 plus years, and they've never dealt with anything or seen anything like this. So it was a lot of initially confusion, I guess, and people trying to understand the severity of it, how long it might last. People obviously are still trying to stay very positive for the future, and people are still being proactive that I'm speaking with. Like I said, there's already some organization for future events going on. But there's very much a sense of, initially it was a case that people didn't really know how long this was going to last. And I mean, we were still only last week, I was still working on an event for May. And we were pretty confident that the film festival, the Lions, this kind of thing were going to be going ahead. But I think as the last week or so has unraveled, and we've seen that obviously Europe is now the epicenter of the virus, and it's having a huge effect on the whole of Europe and the whole of the world, but obviously Europe being the center of that at the moment, I think, it's kind of pushed people's planning back a little bit, which is inevitable, really. The likelihood of people being able to go to an event in the next couple of months now is obviously looking very, very slim, if not impossible. But there is positivity, and there is people still trying to be proactive, obviously ourselves, but our clients as well, and they're looking forward. And at the end of this, when everything is quieting down, then I'm sure people are going to be wanting to host and attend and organize events more than ever, to be honest.
No, 100%. I totally agree with that. It's I think there's going to be a bit of a hunger to get back out and interact with people and have live events. I think if we're able to control this with these kind of the policies that are being put in place, actually helps control the virus and put it to rest, then it could be an extremely busy fall for everybody, which I think will be more than welcome.
Definitely.
And I agree. Speaking to my clients as well, the people I've been in touch with, it's exactly the same things that we've talked about. That I think pretty much people have given up on the idea of live events over the next couple months, and it's a painful thing to go through, especially when your entire business depends on something like live events, like ours does. But going back to the solidarity, I think when we all understand that this is what's best for society and to keep people not only healthy but alive, it's an easier pill to swallow. Still not easy.
Agreed.
But yeah, I'm right there with you. It's going to end. This is temporary, and I think that's kind of the mindset that everybody has to take. And to be honest, I mean, we've organized events that are 18 months away, and I think that's kind of the mindset that people need to start having. Is okay, right now things may be paused, but that doesn't mean that I need to stop. Start looking forward. Start looking towards the fall 2020, spring 2021. There's a lot that can still be done during these times.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think one thing that's obviously happening now, and a lot of our clients being UK based, is they still haven't been quarantined or put on lockdown like we are here, but that panic has kind of set in. You've seen it with all the supermarkets being cleared out and emptied, and that kind of panic that we had maybe Thursday or Friday last week, so a week ago, is now in the UK, and obviously they've all been sent to work from home. So right. I think as well, a lot of people we work with are in that kind of transition period at the moment, getting everything set up at home, understanding how to work from home with their kids, with their families, with their dogs, all of these strange sort of things that come up that you never would expect to have to deal with from a long-term working from home. Generally, if you're working from home, it's because you've got the house to yourself or you've got somewhere to get away. Whereas now everyone's been thrown into this situation where their household carries on and it's at full capacity, and you've still got to get to work. And it will take time for certain people to get into the flow of things. But if they understand that this is going to be how it is for the next month or so, then it's just a case of time when everything sort of settles down again. But yeah, I'm confident that we can keep busy, and yeah, look forward to normality again for sure.
Yeah, no kidding. And you're right on with that comment too. It's a total adjustment to a new environment. No, I mean, I think even us, we experienced that. No, the first couple of days was a bit surreal, and everybody's kind of it's crazy to think how much has changed in a week. Even 1 week ago Friday, we were still kind of deciding, okay, working from home is optional. People are welcome to come into the office if they want to, but obviously we understand if you're uncomfortable to take the metro or to take the bus or that. And we still were operating under the assumption that was a possibility. And here we are only 7 days later, and we've had to adjust to an entirely new reality. And I think in the beginning, that transition is confusing, like you said, and it takes everybody a few days to understand that this is the new reality. And that it doesn't mean things have to stop. No, I think the first couple of days we were all a little bit shaken by the changes, but I kind of feel in the last 2 or 3 days, we've gotten back on track. We have our hours, our schedule, we have our tasks, and we're just kind of moving ahead as normal as you possibly can, considering the circumstances. But it's true. In the UK, I think that's happening now, kind of 7 days later.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, let's not spend the whole time on the coronavirus, because I think everybody's pretty burnt up on that right now. So that was part 1 of my chat with Rich. In the next segment, we speak more about Rich and his background, so you can get to know him better. And thank you for listening. And we'll have the next segment up shortly. Take care, y'all.